Look, today we're unpacking an absolutely incredible story. We're talking history, tactical masterclasses, and just pure triumph. We're heading straight to BC Place in Vancouver for this massively high-stakes World Cup clash. You've got two completely different squads here. On one hand, New Zealand's all-whites, stepping up, eager to prove they belong on the big stage. And on the other, the Egyptian Pharaohs, carrying a weight on their shoulders that is honestly hard to even imagine. We're going to dive into how a total disaster of a start turned into a historic 3-1 win for Egypt. It's a tale of two halves, broken barriers, and an absolute resurgence. Let's get into it. But, okay, before a single ball is kicked, we really need to talk about this number, 92. Seriously, just let that sink in for a sec. For 92 long years, a World Cup curse just hung over the Egyptian national team. We're talking generations of players, thousands of matches, millions of fans, all haunted by this inability to get that first ever win in the tournament. Imagine the psychological toll that takes. Every single time they stepped onto the pitch, they weren't just playing the 11 guys in front of them, right? They were literally playing against almost a century of ghosts. That is the suffocating, heavy pressure Egypt dragged into this match. So, it brings us to the big question for today's explainer. How exactly do you break a 92-year curse? In just 45 minutes? Because as you're going to see, the first half of this game, it looked like history was just completely repeating itself. But what happened after the break wasn't just a lucky bounce. No, it was a mind-blowing tactical turnaround that completely flipped the script. We are going to break down exactly how they pulled off this monumental shift. Okay, let's dive into this. Act 1. The shock in Vancouver. So setting the scene at BC Place, the energy was just off the charts. And right from kickoff, New Zealand came out absolutely swinging. Their game plan was super clear. They wanted to unnerve the African giants immediately. They didn't just sit back and wait. Instead, they brought this highly physical, in-your-face style to disrupt Egypt's rhythm. Just make them really uncomfortable. And a huge part of this was focusing on sharp set pieces. Dead ball situations are a massive equalizer in these games, and they knew it. They wanted to rattle Egypt early, and honestly, the plan works like a charm. The shock hit fast. Just 15 minutes in, New Zealand's intensity paid off big time. They win a corner, and the whole stadium is buzzing. Sarpreet Singh steps up, whips in this absolutely gorgeous curling ball deep into the box. And rising up above literally everyone is Finn Surman, who connects perfectly, just a bullet header straight into the back of the net. Boom. Just like that, New Zealand is up 1-0. For Egypt, it's the nightmare scenario. That 92-year curse suddenly felt very, very real. You can imagine Egypt is just reeling from this, right? They're desperately trying to find some kind of answer before halftime, and you can feel the frustration building. Then, in the 40th minute, a glimmer of hope. A free kick in a super dangerous spot. Of course, their main man, Mohamed Salah, steps up to take it. He strikes it so cleanly, curling it right over the New Zealand wall. The keeper is totally beaten, the crowd completely holds its breath, and it just whistles past the post. It was a game of inches, and right then, those inches were firmly on New Zealand's side. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast between these two sides as they headed into the tunnel. On the left, you've got New Zealand operating like an unbreakable wall, super organized, physical, totally resolute. But on the right, Egypt. They were playing with this surprisingly passive approach, basically just letting New Zealand completely dictate the tempo. So at halftime, you've got a frustrated Egyptian squad down 1-0 and staring straight down the barrel of history. Something had to change, and fast.
And oh man, did it ever change. Welcome to Act 2, the King's Resurgence.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive shift that happened in that locker room. The Egyptian team that walked out for the second half, completely unrecognizable. They made this unified decision to just completely scrap that passive first half setup. Instead, they unleashed this relentless, aggressive high press. Suddenly, they're hunting the ball in packs, forcing New Zealand into these really panicked decisions and just suffocating the pitch. It wasn't just, trying harder. It was a total tactical teardown that instantly put the All-Whites on their heels. But look, history doesn't just roll over, right? Even with this new fire, Egypt had a massive scare. In the 52nd minute, New Zealand launches a lethal counterattack. Callum McCowett gets his head on the end of it, and it looks absolutely nailed on to double their lead. But out of nowhere, a flash of pure brilliance. Goalkeeper Mostafa Shobeir pulls off this miraculous, instinctive reflex save. He didn't just stop a goal there. He literally kept his entire country's tournament hopes alive. That save, that was the spark.
Barely 6 minutes later, that relentless high press finally breaks New Zealand. Egypt forces a turnover and they pounce. Mohamed Hani looks up, floats this absolutely pinpoint cross right into the mixer. And somehow, through all the chaos, Mostafa Ziko is just standing there, totally unmarked. He doesn't even blink, just buries a clinical header. 58th minute, we are tied 1-1. The stadium is absolutely shaking. The momentum has totally, completely slipped, and you can practically see the belief pouring back into this Egyptian squad.
So the crucial point is how they capitalized on that wave of momentum to grab the lead in the 67th minute. Let's deconstruct this absolute masterpiece of a goal step by step. Number 1, fluid team passing right on the edge of the box. They replaced panic with total patience. Number 2, Mohamed Salah triggers this lightning-fast 1-2 that totally guts the midfield. Number 3, he gets it back, shows unreal composure, and just drops his shoulder, sending the defender to another zip code. And finally, 4, that trademark, soft, side-footed finish past the keeper. Pure magic. 2-1, Egypt.
But wait, they were not done. 82nd minute, Egypt goes straight for the jugular. They win a corner, and by now, New Zealand's defense is just crumbling under the pressure. The ball whips in, and Trézéguet makes this incredibly sneaky run, totally unchecked at the near post. He stoops down, contorts his body, and just powers the header home. 3-1. Absolutely incredible. That was the nail on the coffin, the ultimate exclamation point on one of the best second-half performances you'll ever see.
As the final whistle echoed, the reality finally settled over the stadium. The aftermath. A historic legacy.
Let's move to this timeline and see how this builds, because it truly visualizes the roller coaster we just witnessed. You start with that shock deficit from Surman at 15 minutes. Then, the agony of Salah's near miss at 40. But right here at 52, Shobeir's jaw-dropping, tournament-saving stop. From that exact second, it is an avalanche. Ziko ties it at 58, Salah takes the lead at 67, and Trézéguet locks it down at 82. It's a perfect snapshot of a team that flat-out refused to let a bad start dictate their destiny.
So what does this all mean? What's the final impact of this 3-1 win? Well, first and foremost, they exorcised a near-century-old demon. That 92-year curse, it is officially broken. Egypt finally has their first ever FIFA World Cup win. And it's all thanks to this brilliant adaptability. They ditched a failing game plan for a high press and literally rewrote history. For New Zealand, it's a super tough pill to swallow, knowing they let that defensive wall collapse after such a hot start. And for the tournament, these 3 points completely scramble the group dynamics going into the final match day. It is wide open now.
Which leaves us with this final, thrilling thought to ponder. The monkey is finally off their back. That tactical blueprint, the relentless, aggressive high press, has now been battle-tested on the biggest stage in the world. So, with a 92-year curse shattered and their confidence absolutely through the roof, how far can this awakened Egyptian side actually go? The Pharaohs have officially arrived, and the rest of the world better be paying attention. Thanks so much for joining